Jerusalem. It's now 3 years since the Jewish and Arab parts of this once divided city were fused together by force of Israeli arms. Since then, the Israelis have extended their control and set up their own administration over the former Arab sector known as the Old City. For the tourists who are coming to Israel in increasing numbers every year, the frustration of visiting a divided city is a thing of the past. But most of the Arabs who live here fiercely resent the Israelis putting down new roots in what they regard as their city. They see Israeli policy as deliberate annexation. And it's true that whatever settlement might come in the Middle East, few people foresee the Israelis withdrawing. From Jerusalem, Richard Lindley sent this report.
The 6,000 Arabs who leave the old city every day to work cross no borders. The barbed wire that divided Jerusalem is gone. The barriers are down. Jews and Arabs live in a united city. All very well, but it's a unification achieved by conquest. In practical terms, without waiting for any general peace settlement, the Jews have simply incorporated the Arab part of Jerusalem into Israel. By the end of next year, 1,500 Israelis will have moved into these apartments at Ramat Eshkol, a new suburb built on land expropriated from the Arabs. Compensation was offered, but not accepted. And even more ironic, the builders are Arabs, and they're using stone quarried in what was Jordanian territory. Officially, at least, the workers get the same wages as Israeli laborers, and many of them are now organized in the Histadrut, the powerful Israeli labor organization. Despite new taxes, they're probably better off financially than before the war. Their leaders can afford to stand aloof from the Israelis' money, and they do. The Arab Municipal Council no longer exists. Its mayor was deported. His deputy, Dr. Ibrahim Tleel, is a surgeon.
I've heard one of your Arab colleagues, a senior man here, say that the way the Israelis are running Greater Jerusalem is pretty awful. Now, would you agree or what?
Definitely. I mean, the part that they have annexed, they have not made any change at all. They have not made any new roads or streets. They have not even kept the cleanliness up to what it was before the June war. The water supply was before 1967 as good as it is now, and we had plans even to double it or even triple it. As far as electricity is concerned, the city walls were lighted before 67, and the Israelis simply put the new lights on the walls that were in the no man's land. So the idea was there with the Jordanian authorities rather than it was something new as they pretend to say.
But a lot of Arabs do work for the Israelis. How do you feel about that?
Well, the workers, they work there because they want to earn their living. There are no projects on this side of the city to which these can be asked to work, and therefore we feel that they are doing the work there simply to earn their living because they have no other income.
Naturally enough, the Israelis are rebuilding the old Jewish quarter in East Jerusalem, allowed to fall into ruins during the Jordanian occupation. They'll build houses as well as restore the old synagogues. But this means turning out 120 Arab families who made their homes here. They'll get compensation, but they'll have to go. In every step the Israelis take to improve the city, and they're doing a great deal, the Arabs see the Zionist urge to expand, to put down roots where sometimes they never were before. The man they inevitably blame is Teddy Kollek, Jerusalem's mayor.
Mr. Kollek, some of the Arab leaders I've spoken to here say that despite what the world thinks, you haven't really achieved very much for the old city, and what you have achieved the Arabs don't really want. How would you answer that?
Well, that's probably what they have to say, isn't it? What we have achieved is, look, over there you have a wall that was built by Solomon the Magnificent 450 years ago. It's the most beautiful stone wall around any city still in existence. We have spent well over 200,000 sterling to repair the damage done to it since the British left and the Jordanians took over. Another 5 or 10 years, nothing of this wall would have been left. Surely no Arab leader is very much interested in this. They have no feeling for this. They have a feeling for their own holy places. They have no feeling for antiquity. They have no feeling for the ambiance of the city. We have brought electricity to all the poor areas of the city, and the same with sewage and roads. Now, these people who never had any say before, who incidentally came in great numbers to vote at our last elections, were no concern of the Arab leaders, because the Arab leaders were appointed people appointed by the king.
So you believe the ordinary Arab is appreciative?
I think the ordinary Arab is appreciative, but I wouldn't say that this comes instead of any political settlement, or that they are particularly grateful. They still regard us as an occupying force. But they come in droves to the city hall with their complaints. For the first time they can complain. They come to meetings in which town hall affairs are being discussed. And this shows that they have an interest and that they feel something is being done.
Mr. Kollek, every time you build an Israeli house on Arab land or extend the boundaries of Jerusalem, aren't you, even with the best will in the world, creating a fact that will make a political settlement between Israel and the Arab countries more difficult?
Maybe that political settlement will be more difficult as time goes on. We would have settled with the Arabs at various stages during the last 50 years with lesser boundaries than now, if they would have settled with us and recognized us. Secondly, let me just say an aside, we are not building any houses on Arab land that has been occupied before. We are only building it on empty land that has never been used before and that we legally and formally acquire. Thirdly, whatever the rule here is, Jews have been yearning to come back for 2,000 years to this country. They should be permitted to come back even if this would be a crusader kingdom or run by any country of the world. Certainly they'll come back when we run this. And finally, let me say this. There will be great difficulties in the settlement, particularly around the Temple Mount. Of course, we have more time than the Arabs have, because we can wait for the temple to be built when the Messiah comes. And we are confident of the future. But I can imagine, once there is a settlement on all the other problems in the Middle East, on war and peace, a variety of settlements in Jerusalem that would certainly guarantee the Arab character that exists today in Jerusalem, and would certainly give the Arabs, one way or the other, great rights in Jerusalem if they want to exercise them. And those can be rights that are connected with a peace settlement and with one of the countries with which we have settled.
No big city mayor would willingly let a place like Jerusalem fall apart while he waited for a political settlement. Certainly not the dynamic Teddy Kollek. The danger must be that as his plans for the city become fact, so a settlement becomes much more difficult. The hope must be that when that settlement comes, it will be one in which both Jews and Arabs will play a part in running a united city. Richard Lindley, Jerusalem.